My name's Chris.
And I'm Christy.
This is the Washing Up Podcast.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And we've got ourselves a guest.
Hello, Happy New Year.
It's Robert.
Woo, yay.
And in studio. Yep, that's right. We brought him all the way to the studio.
Studio. No, it's our roving studio.
Yeah.
We carry one around.
That's right. New year, new Robert. Yeah, I did just wave at the microphone.
We're like the X-Men. We have like a special jet we can just...
Yeah, we just bring a studio with us at all points in time.
And cool cat suits.
No, if anyone has seen the Instagram Washing Up Pod, there might have been a bit of a New Year's cooking challenge between myself and Robert.
Because we've popped along to Perth for New Year's. Why the fuck not?
We popped along to see Robert and his lovely wife and this wonderful city in the west. And it's been lovely. But we return back to Miscellaneous City tomorrow. And with that in mind, we figured we needed to take advantage. And you haven't heard from us in a while. No, it's been a while, and we know you miss us. We know. Yeah, you.
I've received all your mail. I haven't replied because I'm like, I don't want to like...
You kept all the photos, though.
Encourage... Oh, yeah. That's nighttime viewing.
Yeah, that wall.
Especially warm on many a cold winter night.
Christy's wall of joy. So we decided we need to do a bit of a year in review sort of podcast. If you're expecting us to run through point by point, fuck that. You've never listened. This is just going to be the endless, mindless wandering of three individuals, one of whom I'm actually going to be sending him down some dark roads of his memory because I'm not sure of how much of what happened he remembers, and I'm going to out him here. He's got a cheat sheet in front of him of who got eliminated when from Australian Bakeoff.
Don't we all?
I don't, because I remember it.
I was there for most of it, but...
So what, you don't know what happened after you left?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Claudia won. So...
And she was wonderful.
And she is wonderful.
She won. She wonderful.
She wonderful. Yeah. So...
It's like 1-1 from Game of Thrones. That tragically.
So let's start... Spoilers. Game of Thrones. Someone dies. Sorry. Spoilers. All right, so Great Australian Bake-Off. No one died. Everyone instead had a good time. So it feels centuries ago. I mean, longer for you, obviously, Robert, given when this was recorded. Does it feel like it was like 20 years ago and it was a blur?
Like even longer ago. And it's funny because it's coming up on replay now, like the third or fourth replay on Foxtel Lifestyle. And every now and then I look at it and I'm like, who is that? Oh, that's me. Oh, gross.
To give you all an idea, I've been out and about a few times with Robert in different places, in a couple of cities now. And this week was the first time that while we were out, a young woman and a gentleman jogged past him in a park and stopped. And Robert didn't see this. And she stopped and she looked and she pointed and said to her, pointing with her partner there, the guy there, and he's like shaking his head like, I don't know. And she kind of turned 3 or 4 times to work out if she needed to go to talk to Robert or not, or talk or not, and then they eventually ran off, but she's still looking over her shoulder the whole way. It's the first time we've been out somewhere that he's been recognised.
There we go. We took 3 or 4 showings of it, and finally you're in the what's it called? You're in the zeitgeist.
F-list rowboat. We have somebody with us in the boat.
Right.
So
unfortunately, I'm completely oblivious to any of these things.
Yeah, Robert didn't see it. I had to tell him afterwards. Totally, that's Robert. And he's like,
and he had his autograph stamp all there ready to go.
Yeah, and he had a pasta recipe. It was great. So
the only other times that it's happened to me was once in Kmart when I'm in thongs and a t-shirt which is stained with baking just grease.
And that's how they worked it out.
And I'm slopping around Kmart with the worst posture ever, like with a face like thunder because I'm in Kmart and just like, God save me. And then someone's like, oh, Robert, hi, how are you going? And I'm like, I just completely failed it.
So the series...
See, that media training did very well.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So the series of Australian Bake-Off to which we refer, as
season 5,
as we mentioned to everybody, season 4, as we mentioned to everybody, we were at that grand final, which was amazing. And if they ever want to hook us up again, that'd be great. But I don't think our chances are high. But
look, after that incident with you and Matt Moran,
look,
and the fairy floss. and the carousel.
Look, Barb's chest may have collapsed, and I may have been eating nougatine. And
Yeah, but you didn't need to be drunk and naked while doing it.
You say I didn't. Who got the wall of nougatine? That was actually Olivia. Hey, Liv. So, yeah. Like that experience of watching yourself back, and we've talked to you about this a few times, that far out from when you recorded it.
Yeah.
Completely different person you're watching.
It was more than 6 months after the filming when it aired.
Yeah.
So by the time it was filmed, it was like watching a completely new thing I had no memory of.
You're like, oh, I wonder who wins. This guy with the red hair. He's going. I'm pretty sure.
He's doing well.
He's made a kick-ass cake and got Star Baker on week 1. He's
the winner right there.
Let's watch him.
Yeah. All I can say is they were very kind to us in the edit. Very, very kind, which is nice.
To be fair, you're all very kind because you're all very lovely.
I don't think there was a lot they could make nasty about you guys. It's kind of like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, they've wasted a bit of flour. Well,
yeah, let's go and change that up, shall we? Flour spillgate. But it was for our money the best series of Australian in terms of the standard was ridiculously good. Yeah. And you can lean back on this one if you want for a bit, so you don't have to sit there and go, oh shucks. But genuinely, the standard of people in that series was so high.
Absolutely, like there was no weak baker in the shed, and everyone was a joy to watch. There was a lot of innovation going on. There was the camaraderie going on, but there was also it was building on the previous season as well, which I loved because the previous season, like with Liv and Fee and you know who you are, Liesl and James. How could I forget James? We just went to the belt out. Fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, again, on the Washing Up pod, Robert and I went to the top and played La Cucaracha.
And they come down like, did you hear it? I'm like, no, they must have dampeners so you can't hear it from outside that particular area.
It was La Cucaracha and Edelweiss, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. So that was for Liesl. Dedicated to Liesl. Have some Edelweiss.
Have some Edelweiss,
yeah.
Yes.
So like it kind of built on what we'd seen in the previous 2 seasons because the other third season doesn't fucking count.
And Mel, and of course Mel and Claire. And their hosting. And
it's good to see that they're not only like nominated for awards, but
they're winning awards.
Yeah.
We're actually hopeful in the next couple of weeks. Not hopeful. We're just waiting for things to line up. But we're going to have some people on to talk a bit more about the show itself.
Don't say that because we keep saying that, and the poor Canadians, like we've got one on.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about the Australian one at the moment. The Canadians are all coming. Don't panic, guys in Canada. You know you're coming. I've been messaging you this week. So, and if you're CBC, hello, we have permission. So, anyway, the Australian series though, their series, it was really hard to work out week upon week upon week who was going to go home because, as we said all the way through that record, it was you were waiting for someone to make a mistake usually to send them home, and people weren't making mistakes. People were being sent home on really good weeks.
Yeah,
and it was just someone has to go. We can't keep you all.
It's hard to not sound a bit like we're big noting ourselves, but the reason that the technicals appeared not to matter is because what was separating top and bottom in the technical was an absolute hair. Like,
is your apple like perfectly like cooked through, or is it just cooked through?
We're
just
talking about how spherical an apple is, for Christ's sake. Not really like an apple piece is. No, your apple isn't quite popped up and rounded up. We'll make that alone. Yeah.
Except the only other thing that separated you all,
slash Maggie,
rather,
or the ability to make jam drops.
Now we did troll.
Now when we turned up here in Perth, the first thing I did to Robert was show him a packet of jam drops that I bought, just because
you should have made them.
I thought about it. I won't lie, but I didn't want to screw them up and be like the rest of them, because if they're going to screw them up, what are my chances?
Well, we don't have any equipment here in that flat anyway.
We did, but anyway, that's neither here nor there.
So fresh figs are bloody expensive. They are not cheap jam drops to make.
There's a reason why Maggie Beer's ice cream is so damn expensive, and it's because she needs to be able to afford figs.
It's worth every cent. It is.
Oh, it is.
So
it's so
delicious.
good, but really expensive. So that series sort of set us up beautifully in terms of the world of Bakeoff.
Now, some of the things I loved.
Yep.
First of all, I have to mention all of the delightful genitalia in baking form, from Alex's clams to Max's frogs, and I'm using quotation marks.
So was Mel Buttle.
It was a delight.
It was a tour, and the one thing we'll get to the Canadians shortly, but the one thing the Canadians haven't really mastered yet that the Australians just have at the next level is their innuendos. When Maggie Beer is throwing them, it's
she does them deliberate.
No, but Matt Moran ran with it.
Yeah.
Dear God. Now
there's an Italian suppository joke in there somewhere, but
of course there is. So my question to both of you, in terms of Australian, what would you like to see either that was in that series or something you haven't seen that you'd like to see? Mm-hmm. And more importantly, is there anything from that series you wouldn't like to see again?
Hamburgers.
Yeah, I don't want to see hamburgers.
But you guys did do hamburgers.
No,
you before did hamburgers. I hated the
all
hamburgers.
a great big amalgam.
That was also where they didn't make a gingerbread house, they made a biscuit house.
Yeah.
That was the previous season. They got shafted. And the shoe pastry animals was just a bitch.
No, none of those.
We did waffles, and that was quite interesting.
Yeah. I had a big problem with waffles.
So did I. Like, as a concept, the thing
delicious.
I never want to see again is free from baking. You can fair up your bum.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is not okay.
Elena is now just like shaking her head at the podcast.
No. Okay, free from baking is great because it's inclusive and it's wonderful.
That trifle was not free from sugar.
An all-natural sugar trifle defies logic.
If you had fed...
It angered me.
If you...
it angered me. And I love the producers, but what the fuck were they thinking? I'm sorry, really. Come on.
If you had fed that trifle that Chris made to a small child...
Yeah.
You would be picking that child up off the ceiling 3 days from now. I have seen the container in person that Chris put that trifle in. The last time, again, I saw a container that large holding that much stuff, it was Warragamba Dam in Sydney. It is just the most ridiculously large thing, and it's not free from sugar. It was free from refined added sugar. But the amount of natural sugar in that thing was ridiculous, and I deliberately led you all into the what don't you want to see, because the thing I don't want to see was free from baking. I thought it was ridiculous. Anyway, go on.
So
we'll move.
I had no crystallised sugar in that, but there was a crap ton of red seedless grapes, which are so high in sugar they would kill a diabetic.
Just a coma.
There was all sorts of different berries, but and then dates. So many dates. So yeah, that jelly had some real zing to it. That was mighty sweet.
Oh, better believe it would.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see free from.
Okay, I don't want to see puddings.
No,
you're right.
are not interesting.
No.
So it's a visual medium. I don't want to see a lump of jelly.
No.
I ain't interested.
No, like the pudding Reese put up. Yeah. I'm like, that's the kind of pudding that we all make at home. Not appealing to look at. Fucking delicious.
You know what I want to see?
Yeah.
You know what I want to see?
What?
A good British week. Because unfortunately, British week has kind of sucked. And it shouldn't. But again, the 3 challenges in British week.
Yeah.
Right? So just read them out. What were the 3 challenges in British week again? Because they were...
I loved Barb's Tower Bridge, though. That made my life.
Especially the fact that Maggie had to eat something she doesn't like.
Was it pecan?
Pecans, and liked it. But the 3 challenges
were the signature was a filled sponge cake.
That's boring.
A Bakewell slice.
It don't start me on Bakewell
and
slice.
And a pudding.
And a pudding, exactly. And it was for all the options you've got for British.
We can do better.
You can do better than that.
The only thing that's good about pudding is that it makes me want to sing the Putting on the Ritz song and replace the pudding with pudding, but that's a me thing and not an anybody else on the planet.
Now just imagine you got the Ritz crackers and you're putting pudding on the Ritz crackers. No one wants
pudding on a Ritz.
Anyway, sorry.
No one wants pudding on a Ritz.
No.
But I would
like to see another country featured, so like Japan or something slightly less European.
An Asian week would be good. Something along those lines would be great.
I'd like to see something which is not obvious. So French, Italian, German, too obvious.
Yeah.
English.
Maybe some Hungarian baking, because, you know, you've got a lot of delicious things there, like pumpernickel. How long would that take to make
A
that?
lot of chocolate. They do bloody nice chocolate. Mm-hmm. They're like German, only a little bit stranger.
There's a range of those options there. I mean, I don't know how much you could do of things like Indigenous style baking.
Using Indigenous
that would be really good.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I'd love to see. So something that's based around Indigenous ingredients. And I think that Claudia used a lot of things like wattle seed.
Yeah, I know Claudia did use for that.
So that was really exciting just to see in some of the native ingredients that she got into a biscuit of all things. So,
and then it opens up the opportunity. Like in Great British Bake Off, we have those things where Mel and Sue and
Sandy and Noel.
Sandy and Noel can go off and do like a little kind of like vignette.
You know, they can send Noel to Amsterdam. You know.
Yeah, so you can have Mel and Claire hanging out with like some of like the Indigenous chefs and getting to learn how to.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. I'd like to see that.
I want to see more construction. I want to see
moving
taller
parts.
things.
I'd like to see less challenges with like 60-minute time limits, and maybe just 1 week go all out and give a really sustained challenge.
Yeah, one thing Bakeoff does well, and like Great Australian Bakeoff does better than any other cooking show, is they do give much better time limits.
Oh, 100%. We looked at some of the Canadian stuff. It was horrible.
Brilliant.
So definitely construction. I agree with you.
But
craziness.
Again, it's a visual medium, so an entremet is not good for camera.
No.
You've got a hero shot of a couple of minutes of like pouring sticky liquids over flat cakes, but it's not interesting to look at. Nobody cares about entremets. That's had its day. Fucking move on. Sorry, but I want height. I want drama. I want interest.
Well, something I've seen, because I've kept myself away from all the British stuff, and I know we're going to go into this later, but the new series of British coming out, I could see like a fucking mobile. Like someone has done a biscuit mobile by the looks, which I'm like, I want to see that. So we need something.
But this links in really nicely then to a segue to another series. Canadian.
Oh,
and the reason why
are you going here?
Oh, shit, here come the accents.
Oh,
now there's a couple of reasons to segue. There's a couple of reasons to segue here. The first reason to segue is, as Robert said, entremets are quite boring. One of the things that I think they need to work on with Canadian, and remember we did 2 series of Canadian, there are points of that show that are some of the most amazing television, and then there are some points of that show which are incredibly dull and nothing happens. And there are whole challenges where nothing happens because they've picked something that might be technically incredible, but it doesn't look good. The steps aren't really that. There's no real get a camera in there and show them doing this. You just end up with the product at the end of it, and that's something where Canadian needs to keep growing. And it's obviously it's still fairly young in the scheme of things. And it's been brilliant. We're going to get into why it's brilliant in a moment. But I just think that's something it can grow from, is those challenges need to be more adventurous.
Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful for you guys for introducing me to the Great Canadian Bake-Off, because the first thing I did was sign up to CBC. I'm like, right, so miscellaneous means of obtaining program from CBC, but awesome series. Really well done, really well produced, and like Dan Levy, hello.
Hey. and as we've said to you before,
and Rochelle Adonis down the road from you,
and Bruno, who is just
Bruno
amazing.
is just a delight.
Bruno's amazing.
And quite frankly, it was like the biggest disappointment our trip out here to WA is to find out that Highgate was closed.
Yeah, we were going to go see Rochelle Adonis's place, but it was closed.
I've been trying to get in there for the last 3 months, and my wife works in real estate. I do a lot of things with local cake clubs, my secret cake organisations, which aren't so secret, but anyway.
You'll be hearing more about those in series coming up, maybe.
Yeah. So every weekend, it's been a case of, okay, this time for sure. So we'll book ahead. No, they're booked out for a full month or 2 months. So we're like, okay, on this Thursday afternoon, no, we can't do that. We've got this with our... Can't get in. Either they're booked out or we're booked out. So this year, for sure.
Did you say shag it? That means forget it in Newfoundland.
Did somebody send you Newfie expressions?
Oh, she maybe did.
Oh, Anne-Marie.
The lobster cartel queen coming in.
Our secret,
deadly. Anne-Marie, did you know that deadly in like Aboriginal slang also means like fantastic and awesome?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So, Canadian was a discovery and a half. Now, the reason why we discovered Canadian was one, we had to wait a bloody long time for any other series. Two,
still waiting.
We needed. I know. Two, we needed to do something to get past MasterChef. We will mention that briefly in a minute. But three, we were looking around and we went to go and do Great British Bakeoff, the professionals.
Yeah.
And we sat down to do that, and it was such a horror show. We couldn't do it.
The cooks, the chefs, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
The judges, horrendous.
Oh my
Cherish
gosh.
is a terrible, terrible, terrible judge.
Who was a delight though? Liam.
Liam was a hero.
Delight. Yeah.
Liam from British Bake Off, absolute hero in that series. But the series itself was unrecordable, and we were going to record it, and we had it all set up, and this is what we're going to do. It fell apart, and we're like, well, what else can we do? And I went, oh, there's Canadian. Let's have a watch of this. And we're like, oh, we'll watch an episode.
Yeah.
Anyone who remembers the first episode of that podcast remembers we said we had literally sat down to watch it, and we got about 10 minutes in. You looked at me and went, we need to record this. And instantly we just put the mic down and recorded. It is a wonderful show.
Yep.
It is done with the same spirit that the Australian one is done with.
Yeah.
That's it. The Canadian one captures the same spirit and the same ethos of let's celebrate people who are doing work well.
Yeah.
Commiserate when it goes wrong.
Yeah.
But not focus on it and really grind it in.
Exactly. There's no drama. It's more like, this is wonderful. You're a beautiful person. You know, your value is
This
not
is why I really struggle with
linked.
Nailed It. I can't with Nailed It because I don't want to watch people screw things up. I want to watch people do well and celebrate that.
And they're set up to fail. Like, Nailed It, I found horrendous. I tried to watch the holiday special. One, it was the same fucking challenges. Like, the first one was all cake pops, which I'm like, well, one, you're giving them the cake to make. There's nothing there. And two, you're setting them up with these decorating challenges of people, and you're giving them, like, 30 minutes to do it, and they're already in struggle street. There's no like teach them how to do it, then see how well they can do it.
It's not it's not a good format. But Canadian's been,
and they win money for it,
which is stupid because anyway, the Canadian series, we've seen some genuinely in both series. We've seen some amazing bakers. I mean, again,
Terrio and who'd have known?
Yeah, exactly. In the first
crocodile wrangling,
in the first series, obviously, you know, Bandana was there, which makes
Bandana, Chris's favorite baker. Bandana, what she baking today?
my Patronus James was there, of course, and again, Linda, probably one of the most consistent bakers ever, and.
She was solid.
Oh, there's some lovely, but that whole series was just full, and then you feel really sorry for poor Pierre, whose cake just fell apart on the first day. And when he looked down the camera and they went, "What happened?" He goes, "Fell apart." And it was just like, what are you going to do? Lovely series, and then of course the most recent series, and
let's not forget what's his facey?
Let's not forget what's his facey.
No, hold on, I'm just having a moment. Builder dude, just.
I know who you're talking about, but I'm going to let you go.
No.
Before I say Julian.
It is Julian, and hello, Julian. That's one for all the ladies.
Christy's wall.
Tradies for the ladies.
Christy's wall of fan mail. Right in the middle of it, it's just Julian and that rustic box cake. Don't go with the pun you were going to go with. We're going to move on completely from that. So, in the most recent series, obviously, we've got...
I don't think Julian's left many boxes rustic.
Ching. So, moving on.
Robert blush.
It's not that hard to do, honestly.
It's just the sun.
In the most recent series, again, we've had some genuinely outstanding quality. I mean, Megan's just
Megan is next level, and Jude is my absolute hero.
Jude from
Jude.
We haven't. I was going to give her a special moment mention, but anyway.
Oh my God.
And then of course Devon. Shout out to Devon, our peeps. And of course the one, the only, the amazing Andre.
Oh my God.
keep your ears open, people. I've got something that works there.
In all honesty, I've been thinking about the Bakeoff Commonwealth Games, and I think Canadians.
I'm terrified about the Bakeoff. I'm terrified.
It's like the Usain Bolt of baking.
I'm terrified about the Commonwealth Games because Andre could probably just.
If you were to put together Andre and Linda,
oh God,
throw in like Megan for flair,
throw in Megan and Jude. They would be so unstoppable.
That would be a
like there
really...
are more like Vandana.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
I don't know how we win that.
Undefeatable.
I'd have to.
Like, and I'm biased. I freaking love Australia. Like the Australian bakers are incredible. I think they're wonderful, but those guys are scary. I wouldn't go up against them.
The bulk of them are amazing, and I think Andre is next level above.
Yeah.
Like I've not seen a baker of that skill.
Like I said, he's the Usain Bolt.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. It's like, again, look at that Jamaican team that was already pretty fast at most of the Olympic Games.
Volleyball team.
Like the rest of them are all like fairly fast, but they're competitive with the rest of the world. And then you put the fastest man on earth, the anchor of the team, and nobody had hope of beating Jamaica. Well, Canada's strong, about as strong as the rest of the world, and then you put Andre there at the end to just casually whip something up. No. But that series, again, if you haven't tracked it down, I do recommend you track it down. I'd like to see them do a few things that are a bit more visually appealing.
Yeah.
A couple of times where those challenges got a bit dry that you need to spice them up a bit. That could be quite good.
Get Jerry Halliwell in there. La, la, la.
And again, they set a couple of challenges.
No, the cakes would be too unstable then.
No. No, they've already got... No.
I'm leaving.
No, remember
I've got a solo career.
No, remember
No, you don't, love.
It's raining men. Now I'm broke. It's raining men. Anyway.
No, remember the right Spice correctly is Baby Spice, who is currently about to be the host of the Great American Baking Show.
Oh dear.
So you need to remember that's coming
Emma
along.
Bunton.
Anyway, Emma Bunton is involved.
It's good to see that her agent Adina Monsoon got her something.
It's about time, sweetie. It's about time, sweetie, darling.
I'm just so busy, Sophie. It's Emma Bunton.
Also remember that the judge of the Great American Baking Show will be Paul Hollywood. So they're really trying to make American work this time because, after the last lot of unpleasantness. Anyway, moving on without talking about the unpleasantness. Although, speaking of unpleasantness, MasterChef Australia. So we need to mention it because we did cover it. It was the bulk of our episodes this year.
Yeah.
You guys did so well not to just rage quit.
Oh, no, I rage.
So close.
No, I rage podcasted instead.
Yeah.
Okay, so
many times this guild sucks, I'm fucking leaving. You can't rage for shit. And out.
So we had some positives. Let's start with the positives.
We went to Carmen's restaurant on...
Yeah, she's a couple of series, but
Carmen Lou from Series 8 with Elena.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. Her flavour profiles. Oh, my God. She made Chris like yuzu.
She did. I'm not going to lie. I had yuzu and I loved it. It was really good.
Again, the caveat on that is that it was used appropriately
and not just for the sake of being
shits
yuzu.
And giggles.
Yeah,
it was like, let's highlight this and make it absolutely sing.
It was like a lemon meringue. It was basically like a lemon meringue pie,
and you had to dig down
in sphere format. But rather than the lemon, they went with the yuzu to flavour it.
Not only was it a yuzu dessert, it was a fucking sphere.
Yep.
And it was marvellous.
So
this is what everybody else on so I had a joke with Chris and Christy when we were preparing for our cook-off. I'm like, here's a heap of sphere molds and an ice cream maker. And some silicon mats with some palette knives for tweel, because apparently that's all MasterChef was this year.
So
ice cream spheres and tweel.
So we had to talk about this morning actually, and we were talking about MasterChef, and one of the things that you raised was that MasterChef is kind of unfair for people who are dessert people.
Yeah, after tasting, because I've heard, we're speaking to Elena and she's told us how good Carmen's flavours are and stuff.
Yeah, Elena raved about it.
And you see people come in and at the beginning they've really got who was it with? two wunderkinds, was it Jess and Callum?
Yeah.
Who came in and they were like these dessert wizards, and they get fucking sidetracked, and their talents are like lambasted into this and bastardized into this like need to create meat and savoury dishes when their talents and skill really lies in this patisserie
I'm just going to point
side.
out, though, that the best episode this year was when they weren't able to pick, and the people who don't traditionally do desserts were forced to do desserts, and the people who traditionally do desserts were forced to do meat.
Except for
Ben, who did fish anyway.
Yeah, Ben did fish anyway.
Yeah. And that was the best episode because we got to see something that was outside of what they normally do, using the skills that they have, and it was brilliant. What they came up with was inventive and original and delicious.
But the problem was that was then outside the norm of it being inventive, because they're not encouraged. The problem, and we've said this, we talked about this last series of MasterChef as well, and we raised it with Callan, was when I raised it, which was MasterChef. The biggest problem for MasterChef is mixed messages that they're given. So they're told, this is brilliant, keep doing this, don't vary from this, keep doing this, don't vary from this, keep doing this, don't vary from this. Then they suddenly get told, you have to vary from this. They vary from it, and they go, why did you vary from what you do? And it is so... I couldn't imagine being on that show, because it is such a mindfuck. Because they spend all of their time trying to convince you to do something that you don't want to do, and then when you do that, they tell you off for doing it.
And it's very true.
They give you the skills.
Yeah, when people are pushed out of their comfort zone, like Ben, for instance, Ben Ungerman, he discovered that he's really good at ice cream, and here he is as
And we all went to Ipswich this year.
Yes, we did.
and we went to Ungerman Brothers, and it was amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. We started, like Tash and I, when we went to Ungerman Brothers, we had the tasting experience, and we had one of each. We had the summer and autumn, I think. Or, anyway, whatever. There was roasted garlic ice cream, and we both looked at each other and went, well, this will be crap.
Nope.
And we started with that one because we're like, well, we'll have the rest of it to go. It was the most amazing thing I've ever eaten. It was like peanut butter with, like, the savoury sweet thing that you get with peanut butter, and it was mind-blowing.
Well, it was the pumpkin seed one.
Absolutely mind-blowing.
The pumpkin seed one was great.
Yeah.
The beer one was amazing. Dutch stout.
Yeah. And if you get out there, the finger lime, lime in cream, doesn't sound right.
No.
But these finger limes, he's got the little bubbles of finger lime throughout it, and they just explode.
He's got the bubbles
fireworks.
of nothing that make it something, and that's what he's got.
Yeah,
it's true. And
so that's a good point. But it was I was just pondering it this morning, and I'm like, but what it was is that after a while, as an audience, you kind of burnt through, and you're sick of you kind of feel that desserts are lesser than the mains.
But to be fair, the problem is
they shouldn't be.
Yeah,
they shouldn't be.
The problem for me isn't necessarily the desserts. The problem is that they were making the same 2 or 3 maximum.
Absolutely.
Because they are given, and again, we talked about that with Bakeoff and maybe longer times, they are given such shitty little times.
They're given an hour for most things.
And the reason why,
and this is not enough time.
And this is from people we've spoken to who've been on the show. One of the things that they will tell you straight up is, why is it that you see lots of fucking parfaits? Because you can't set an ice cream in that time. Well, then they've developed the machines that can now set an ice cream in that time, so everyone does a fucking ice cream, because now the ice cream machine's all set on time.
Yep.
But it doesn't open yourself up to variation.
And that's the problem.
There are so many amazing dishes that just need 2 hours.
And we've talked about this. And we talked about this.
Hour, and it would be amazing, and it wouldn't affect filming that much. And the shortest part of any baking, cooking, whatever
is the actual cooking.
Is the actual fucking cooking.
Yep.
That's the quickest bit. That doesn't change the filming schedule that much.
And we talked about this as well when they decided the idea of getting back to real cooking, which was a load of shit. It was called "We're too cheap to go overseas because our network's just been bought." But what I would like to see, and we mentioned this on the podcast, slow cooker challenge.
Absolutely.
Right, go on, make a slow cooker meal. You've got 12 hours.
Yeah.
Go.
Even when they go out to do like the outside,
Yep.
big
their
event days,
broadcast, yeah.
one of them has to be a slow cooker. You have to throw it in the first thing you make, and then you're presenting it.
One of the things
and you don't know how that flavour's developed until you get it.
The only thing I liked about Bakeoff the Professionals was the golden hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for those who have never seen Bakeoff the Professionals, what they do is they've got the other couple of challenges, and then the third challenge is some huge monstrosity they've got to create. Like the sugar work one was unbelievable. That was one thing I will say, have a look at the Bakeoff Professionals, just the sugar work challenge. There are full life-size, people-sized monuments made out of sugar. But what they do is, because it's such a time pressure thing, they get a golden hour. So the night before, they get things that you've got to have set for over an hour or whatever. The night before, you get an hour to go do it.
Yep, so prepare, and they can set overnight.
Yep, so you can have things set and ready to go. I would like them in MasterChef to have a challenge where they can go in the night before, and there's elements they've got to have ready to go. And they've got to have these elements set and ready and organised, and that's what they do the night before. And so they can't come in the next day and go out of there, I'm just going to make this up on the spot and blah, 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 blah. You've actually got to be skilled enough to forward think, plan and prepare a meal and do it.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about Ben, the runner-up of this year. Where he was done a disservice is that the challenges set were extremely lazy. It was all...
They were pick whatever protein you want.
The last 4 weeks were the pick whatever you want, which is normally like the second last challenge.
Yeah.
It was the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, and there should have been some structure, some boundaries set in.
And let's face it, and when we talk about some of the positives and the negatives, possibly the greatest episode of the podcast that we did this year was in Trying Circumstances, which was when Huda went home.
Yep.
And we, of course, recorded after being at Dracula's and downing a lot of fishbowl cocktails. Great episode. Go back and find it in the archives. But Ben should have gone that night.
Absolutely.
It was Ben should have gone home, and then there are a couple of other instances where Ben should have gone home and he didn't. And the other thing I'd like to see as part of that as well is the judges need to be more with it. And when I say more with it, it really felt like only Matt Preston gave a shit.
And that was barely.
And it felt like the other two didn't care.
So I had real issues with this last season, so there's a couple of things. So one of them is the time limits are unrealistic. The judging was lazy. The editing was atrocious. It's the worst edited I've ever seen a series of MasterChef. And their editing is usually...
They went out of their way to make some people look
Their editing was not good. And there are a couple of times when people would get put through and you'd go, why were they put through? If the audience doesn't agree with what's happening on the screen, that's not the person who's cooked's fault. That's the problem of the producers screwing up the edit.
And this was an argument we had online. We're not going to get back into the argument.
No, but that is the fault of the editors.
Yeah.
The
problem,
audience should never feel like that.
Our problem was we had some people sort of saying, well, it's not, the problem with this is that there's so much more to it than you see. Well, yes, but it's a television show. It's competition, but it's a television show.
Yeah.
The job of the editors and the job of production is we need to see why they go home, or we need to see why they stick around and what it is they've done. And we didn't get that explanation a lot of the time. It seemed like the excuses that were given for people to say stay were really lazy at times. There were entire episodes where they said to Ben, you got this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and this wrong, and then went, but you're safe.
But you know what? Like, coming out of it, like going into MasterChef, I'm like, wow, he's probably the only white heterosexual male in there. How long is he going to stay for? And I'm like, they haven't had a white heterosexual male win in quite a while. Are they going to be gunning for this guy?
We tried to pick it all the way through based off that, and we nearly got there. Like they were trying. It felt like, and again, this is not.
They even came down hard on. This is not a shot.
This is not a shot in Ben. A shot at Ben. We said this on the podcast,
and I've got to say, like what he's done after MasterChef
is good.
Is brilliant. I love his posts on Instagram.
Because he knows
follow his food channel.
He knows what he does.
He is brilliant. He's really good at what he does. He's an incredible cook. He's good at more than just fish.
Problem was
what he does with seafood is outstanding.
The problem was the show put him in an unrealistic position, and it wasn't fair on him to do that. And you've seen in previous years, like Brett, for example, wanted to have his own gastropub. wasn't interested in all these other things. So he got about as far as he was going to get with his gastropub food.
Went away and did it.
And then they went, right, you're done now. Like, you're not going to keep going in this competition. Go do your gastropub stuff. And that's what he's done to great effect. And if you use the show properly, like he has done, it's a launching pad. But when you will run the risk, the producers ran the risk of like harming him because people see what he does and goes, well, he shouldn't have been there, and then they come down on him. It's not his fault he goes through. He doesn't put himself through.
Yeah.
Other people do. So that's production being lazy. The positives out of this year.
Joe Kendry.
Oh,
Aldo. Joe. Hodder. Aldo. Khan.
Was
These are
lovely.
some positive things coming out of this show.
Joe Kendry is my absolute hero. I fucking love her.
We have to talk.
Mama
We
Joe.
have to talk Mama Joe. Mama Joe is
I
look.
bought the spice mixes, yo.
Yeah,
And they're good.
they're amazing.
MamaJoes.com.
And of course,
MAMMASJO.
and of course,
Or MAMMAJOS.
yeah, Robert will get there eventually.
It's not watery, we're drinking.
Also, she's been on Food Nerd Vanity Project a fair bit, and will hopefully
No
be
bias
on,
whatsoever.
and we'll hopefully be on that.
Bias, all of it,
So much
and it's
bias.
so deserved because we love her.
Joe's food knowledge, in all honesty, and you know, hopefully she'll listen to this and blush. But knowing Joe, she'll sit there and go, "Fuck yeah!" Joe's food knowledge and her food experiences are unbelievable. She has seen and eaten and tasted and experienced a lot of flavours around this world,
Yeah.
and knows her flavours. Huda is
Oh my
one of the
gosh.
most lovely, warm, kind, generous people who is also a very fucking talented cook.
Absolutely.
And the quality of food that she produces.
And how much of a nice moment was it with, like, her and Nigella Lawson, where she's making
the cotton candy.
the fairy floss,
Yeah.
like the Persian fairy floss, and
In front of Nigella.
in
and teaching
front
her.
of Nigella, and Nigella's just watching it wrapped like a schoolchild.
It was wonderful.
Delightful.
It was absolutely
One of the
wonderful.
best moments of television. So
Yeah.
they got some things right. They did.
There is a couple of other things I'd love to see them do. Alla Wolf Tasker, Nigella, these amazing women who know who are masters of their craft, who have a gravitas that's brought to the MasterChef kitchen and utilised well, but not enough. It is a sausage fest in there.
I want Ella Wolf Tasker as a judge.
Yeah.
There is so much penis, and the way Gary, Matt, and George bro out, it's really annoying because this is so symptomatic of what we hear going
Again,
on.
you'll note that the best episodes were the ones where they brought in.
Well, you know what the best episode. Well,
Yeah.
the best running episode, the best week.
Nigella, by far.
Yeah.
Well, the two best weeks: Nigella
Ramsay.
and Gordon Ramsay. And why was Gordon Ramsay a great week? Because the three judges buggered off.
Yep.
They weren't there. Like by the last episode of that week, Gordon Ramsay was there by himself.
Why not revamp it a bit, give the judges a break, bring in a couple of good hosts?
Yeah.
They won't do it, but
Do you know what's funny? I can't stand Gordon Ramsay on MasterChef UK. Not interested.
Nah.
Gordon Ramsay on MasterChef Australia. Marvellous.
because he was
He took the
teaching.
piss out of himself.
And he was teaching. He was doing teaching points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't just yell at you. He goes over and he actually does proper teaching points. You know,
And
this
you
is
can
what
see he
you're
gives a
doing.
shit about
he
the
cares
people
about
there.
the food, and he cares about the food, and he cares about the people.
Yeah.
So MasterChef's got a bit. And the other thing is, just quickly before we do move on, and somewhat ironically that we have to do this point just quickly, shorten the fucking series. We don't need to go for 18 and a half months. Okay? We don't care. It felt ridiculous. It felt forced. And I'm sorry, but everybody comes up and does their audition plate format. We all know, like you can pick it pretty quickly. Who's in, who's out. You can pick it. And
I
it
still
just
enjoy
goes for
that,
it.
though.
I like it, but
and we got to see Cheryl.
I like it.
A little
but
bit of
it
extra
goes,
shiz.
A little bit of extra shiz, which was always nice.
Everything's good
But
with a bit
we-
of extra
Shiz.
shiz.
But we got, and of course we got to meet Aldo and at his most excited, where we just thought he was someone's relative around hanging around. No, it's Aldo, and as you'll learn if you ever get to meet Aldo, that's Aldo.
We were out to our family Christmas dinner,
And we
a few
saw
weeks
him.
back, and he was working the door, and we got up and say hello. He's like, nah, he's just
You couldn't get near him.
too much
He's
Aldo.
a social butterfly. And of course we went to the Aldo and Huda pop up, and That's Aldo.
It was
He didn't leave. The thing ended by about 11 o'clock. He was still there at 2:30 in the morning talking to people. That's just Aldo. All right.
As we always said about him, he's not there for a long time, but he's there for a good time.
My God, what a ride it's going to be. All right, so let's get into Great British Bakeoff, because we vaguely remember that happened.
It did sometime.
That was right back at the beginning of January.
No, it was December.
No, December.
2017.
November, December.
Right.
So we've basically lived a year without Great British Bake Off in Australia.
Yep.
We have. Now, before people start yelling, we know it's already happened and we know it's all been done, but we avoid it because we want to give a podcast experience to the people in Australia watching it. And at the time, it's going to air in Australia.
I've avoided all spoilers. Yeah.
So,
Also,
the reason
it's being aired on Foxtel. We want to support them.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So, the reason why we are doing this whole big review is because 8th of January,
finally,
the washing up returns. And why does the washing up return? Because the Great British Bake Off's here.
Yes! Oh my God, when I finally saw the previews for that coming out, it arrived at a point where I'm kind of like, I couldn't take joy in it because I'm like, it's been so fucking long.
We were checking with people that we know who get the previews of what's on this next week.
Hi, Leah.
And we're getting messages sent through going, still no Bakeoff. Still no Bakeoff.
And there's no announcement for Australian Bakeoff yet.
But we've got British.
But we've got British.
We know that British happens as the lead into Australia.
Australian, yeah. So
we're getting closer. We're getting closer.
I'm really excited. I can't wait to see who the new bunch of bakers in Australia are.
Oh, that'll be brilliant. I can't wait to see that. That'll
and
be
I'm
interesting.
looking forward to the new British bakers too, because of what we've seen, there's some really cool shit
The
coming out of
previews
there.
look good. The promos look really good. Noel Fielding's hair looks like a mess.
I was about to say that. I'm like, Noel Fielding has gone less Noel Fielding.
Yeah, he's looking more Sandy Togsvig.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do watch the Big Fat Quiz of the Year 2018, available on YouTube, I'm not sure if you're supposed to watch it there, but whatever. He does make reference to the fact that the hair's gone all wrong.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look. But yeah, the promo looks really good. I mean, now last year's Great British Bake Off, as we said, the problem with that was
Not last year, 2017.
well, the last series. Okay, so the last series of British Bake Off. The problem with the last series of British Bake Off, it started really well. The standard actually at the start was really high. And then
Was that the one with Stephen Carter Bailey?
Yeah.
That feels like forever ago.
I know, Yan, Stephen.
I love Yan.
Oh, don't we all love Yan? Hey, Yan, we do know you listen and we love you. You know that. And Stephen, we also love you and you know that too. They are, of course, two of the members of the British Commonwealth Games team for the Bake Off and Commonwealth Games.
Of course they are.
Yeah, well, we got them with the team together.
Yeah.
That's why. So, but that was that series.
That was also Liam's year.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of people out of that series, but the problem was it started at 100 mile an hour, and then about just over about 2/3 of the way through, it dropped off a cliff. It just sort of...
Is that the one where I went on a rant about finishing with an entremet and it robbed them of the chance of really impressive looking... what they did was...
This is where they started to then back the challenges down.
Yeah.
Like they went really hard at the challenges, and then I think this is where we said
one of the challenges was a sponge cake.
Yeah, we suggested that they moderated the challenges down because
let's not forget Italian Week where they threw in Sfogliatelli as the Oh no, that was the showstopper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like a technical back.
No, they did it as a showstopper.
Showstopper, yeah.
But the problem was that they backed the challenges down and they got slightly easier as the competition got on, not harder. Like they started hard, went, oh shit, people can't do this. There was one week, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it was, but there was one week where everybody fucked the thing up. Everybody fucked the technical up, and they basically after that week, they got back to a sponge.
Correction.
Yeah,
it felt like a correction.
Someone in production sat down and went, "This is too hard. Let's back it down." So again, it was a great series, and it had a lot of promise. And I think Channel 4 did the right things with it and did it lovingly. And Noel and Sandy were fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, let's face it, Sue and Mel, they're big shoes to fill,
and they did it.
they did it. I'm really impressed that they were able to do it, and it's nice. Like their chemistry is different, but it's definitely there and it works.
100%.
I love it.
And it's not forced either. You know,
No.
it was pre-existing because they've done shows together,
of course.
which is fantastic. So it's good that they were able to capitalise on that and bring it to the tent. Yes, it is a tent.
That's the tent. Yeah.
Not a pavilion, not a shed.
It's a tent. But I think that I'm interested to see how this series of British goes. I think it'll be a fascinating thing to see how Channel 4 progresses into a second year of it, because you can kind of get the first year right.
Yeah.
Because you're coming straight out of the BBC, you can just keep rolling with what you had, but then Channel 4 is going to have suggestions. Love Productions is going to have to make some adjustments to what Channel 4 wants. And
hopefully
Dr. Oetker is probably the answer because commercials. So there's likely...
I'm just hoping Noel's haircut wasn't one of their suggestions.
No, I really hope it was, because that would then explain it and we don't have to blame Noel Fielding for it. So that's what I'm after. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's really interesting. Again, we have deliberately avoided spoilers, and when I say we, I mean Christy. I've seen them, but I haven't watched any episodes of the show, so I won't.
I saw spoilers, but I have no memory.
And yeah, I can't remember. I can't.
I've got no idea.
The thing is,
it's
I've seen spoilers, but I can't remember them either. So all I remember was at the very start, and this gives you how long ago this was actually filmed, when they released the names of the bakers. I remember there was a message sent through from Chris Grizzly from the last series. And Grizz sent us through the photos, like a thing. And Chris and I started to try to pick who we thought the last three were based off name and appearance. So I'm going to find that conversation, and maybe on the first episode of the British Bakeoff podcast, I'll bring it out and I'll tell you who we thought was going to win based off name and appearance.
Everyone can do that. Just
yeah, so if you are listening in Australia and you've deliberately avoided spoilers and you haven't seen any of it yet, what we want you to do is see if you can find the original. I think what we'll do is I will find it and I will put it on the Twitter so you can avoid spoilers. And what I want you to do...
The form guide.
Yeah, what I want you to do...
You know when you go into the Melbourne Cup when you're a kid and go, I'm going to bet on that one because it's got blue in the jersey and I like stars.
So what we want you to do is pick three
Horse
bakers...
racing is shit. Don't do it.
Three bakers that you think will be in the final based purely off looks and their name. And there's some pretty good names in there. I've got to tell you, there are some great names in there.
Asymmetrical haircut. This lady means business.
That's not a lady. That's Noel Fielding.
Thank you.
But I'm cheering everyone a winner. But it's So I mean, it's going to be an interesting series for all concerned.
And I know some people probably think, well, why didn't you do something like the Christmas specials and whatever? When they come out in Australia, it's usually a year old and they're shown at times that are inconsistent, and December's just a crazy time. So, you know, for us, trying to find the time to sit down and watch those ones was really difficult. So
I've just found the conversation. Okay. So here are the bakers. I will give you their names. I will also put this image up on the Twitter.
Just show it to me and Robert now, and we'll give you our picks.
So I'll
Oh no, retweet it to us.
I'll read you the names. So the names are...
Yeah.
Where are we? I will read you the names. So Ruby, John...
I like Ruby because Ruby.
Terry, a male, Terry.
Yep.
Rahul, Manon, my favourite name in this series. Luke, Kimjoy, Karen, Imelda, Dan, Bryony, Anthony. Right, I said, from memory...
Yes.
Oh gosh, I'll go open it up. I said the final three would be Imelda, Dan, and Luke, and the winner would be Imelda.
I love the word Imelda.
Chris Asquith, by the way, had Ruby, Manon, and Luke, and said Manon. That was where he went. So yeah, that was where we went. It's an interesting group. You can pick it off name and look.
Of course.
You can purely pick it off name and look. So Christy's taking a look now. So Christy's having a look now.
She looks cool.
This is not reductive at all.
No, it's not.
That's awesome. Oh, look at Kaz. she's like ready. She's going to sell you some perfume at the counter. Be completely and utterly cool. Actually,
when I hear the name Kim Joy, all I think of, and people in Australia who grew up, especially in the 90s in Australia, will understand this. I don't hear Kim Joy. I hear M Joy, as in the M Joy Gently, and daytime TV ad sales of hair removal products. That's what I hear. Bert Newton's Good Morning Australia.
With Moira.
With Moira.
Enjoy Gently Gold.
And now it's over to Moira with the Enjoy Gently Gold. Hey, Bert, is hair troubling you? Don't answer that, Bert. It's a trap. It's a trap, Bert. That hairpiece, don't do it.
I'm loving Karen.
Yeah?
I'm loving Rahul, just because I can go
Rahul.
And I'm loving Ruby, just because I can go Ruby, 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 Ruby.
So we will. Robert is just having a look to give you his tips. We will be from the 8th.
Yeah.
It'll be every Tuesday night following the Great British Bakeoff. So we'll be tweeting along with that as well. We will be very active on Twitter because we're always very active on Twitter through the middle of Bakeoff.
Some more than others. Some being Chris.
Some being me. I do sit there and tweet and take mental notes and prepare. So if you've got any feedback, and again, if you've got anything you want us to address while the show's going on, so if you're watching and there's something that pops up in the show that you really want us to talk about in the podcast, let us know on Twitter and we'll get to it. So, Robert, what did you think?
I reckon, let's see. I reckon Ruby looks like, just the way that she's posed in that set, she looks like, yeah, bitches, come at me.
I got you.
Yeah, I reckon that'll be great.
Yep.
So I reckon Ruby looks like she knows what's up. Karen looks competent and really smiley. And I reckon Anthony, just because he's down the bottom right corner there,
being unsuspecting.
Yeah, I reckon he's gonna do a bit of a Claudia where, just quiet and efficient, like a bit of a Linda, and then you just go, holy shit, this person is awesome.
We're going to die. This person's going to bake us into the grave because
they're amazing.
And also, if you there's anything you want us to mention on the podcast at all, get in touch with us. You've got all our social media.
We'll spruik shit.
We will. We'll happily
kids
spruik
having
shit.
a fate at their school. We'll spruik that.
Yeah,
Garage sales.
Got a drug deal you want to get through? No, don't do that. We won't do that. No, obviously.
Looking for a lift to the stadium for football.
I want an Uber. The app's not working. Can you help?
Can someone do a Macca's run for me?
No, we can't. I want some nuggets. It's 11:30 at night. I'm listening to the podcast. Yeah. Help. All right. Also, just quickly before we wrap up, thank you to everybody for your feedback on the International Virgies. It is...
We made it back. We're out of debt. See, Leo... Thankfully, Leo got some,
Leo put all the chips on at the casino and roulette, and we're home.
He got a lot of tips, and he put it all on black.
In all honesty, thank you to a lot of the Canadian bakers who went above and beyond in their support of what we do. It was so heartwarming and wonderful and just joyous.
Absolutely.
And I'm over the fact that Robert won Best Male Podcast Host.
I mean... Well done, Robert. Here's your actual Virgie. I brought it all the way with me from Sydney.
Yep, thank you.
It looks pretty. Can I
appreciate the GBBO stamp of authenticity?
Yes.
Yep.
It looks wonderful. Can I maybe hold it after the...
No, wait till you get your own.
But...
You can go and look at mine at home. Enjoy my
this is a very personal thing. I'm not quite sure I'm
Anyway, on that bombshell, we're going to leave you all for now. Thank you, Robert, for obviously being here and coming on, and obviously the last couple of days too, which have been great fun. There's images all over the Washing Up Pod Instagram, our Facebook page, and Twitter. So thank you, Robert.
Thank you so much for letting me come and play with you, and thank you for coming to Perth to play with me. It was so much fun.
It has been wonderful. And thank you, Christy, for, just being
Christy.
Really.
You're welcome. You're very, very welcome.
No, I know. I'm very welcome. It's a proud moment.
Thank you, Chris.
No problem.
We just want to thank Chris
for
keeping us all in line and creating some kind of structure around our randomness. So.
No, you don't. Really, you don't. Because it's more fun when you're random.
Okay.
So,
what's the Australian version of squirrel?
Belching.
What was that?
Crowbarred that in.
What was that you were saying about me keeping them on track? Okay. So, until the 8th, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Christy.
And we will catch you all for Great British Bake Off.
Bye!